Hey, this is Martin Schneider, VP and Principal Analyst, covering a lot of CRM, revenue tech, and lots of other stuff here at Constellation.
And I'm Larry Dignan, Editor-in-Chief of Constellation Insights. And we're your co-hosts for Constellation Research TV. And what episode are we on? 89?
I think it's 89, yeah.
Yeah, wow. All right. So for us, I mean, as far as you and me, it's like two. But
two, yeah.
we'll just hide the fact we're just drafting on everybody else's work. All right. So we're here to talk about the latest news in tech. And then after that, we're going to talk to Holger Mueller about Oracle, which has had a ridiculous run of late, projecting $100 billion in revenue by fiscal 29, which for the rest of us is really 2028. And then after that, to close out the show, I'll have some reports and interviews from AI Forum in New York, which I'm looking forward to hanging out with a bunch of chief AI officers. But for now, let's get to the news. Martin, what do you have?
All right, well, for at least for me, and I think for 50,000 other people, the week was really kind of taken over by not just Salesforce and Dreamforce, but Agentforce, right? They made it the Agentforce show, right? Agentic AI is everywhere. They actually told us a lot ahead of time around this. So a lot of it wasn't a surprise to analysts like us. But what was really interesting is, that Agentforce really is trying to become this, it's permeating the entire platform and all of the apps. So they have, purpose-built agents now across Sales Cloud, Marketing Cloud, all of the clouds, right? But what's really interesting is the support system that's making Agentforce happen. And one of the things is seeing how Data Cloud has been upgraded, updated, whatever you want to call it, to support a lot of this and pre-integrated with a lot of the other clouds in ways that it kind of wasn't before, right? They have this new Salesforce Foundations, which is really saying, a lot of the other elements of Salesforce products are going into your core sales, marketing, service clouds, whether you know it or like it or not, because it's going to have to support that AI revolution, especially the agentic AI. But with Data Cloud, what's really interesting is a lot of cool things around support for unstructured data, where you're looking at PDFs and being able to read those and get insights out of them really quickly. We're getting to that really low latency to really make that AI kind of engine kind of cook, right? And a lot of really cool stuff with that, and really working with 200 plus ecosystem partners who generate the type of, let's call it critical customer but non-CRM data that's going to make the AI insights and the agent actions actually more real, more useful and effective, right? Tableau as well. I mean, getting a lot of that agentic AI in there to really build out the ease of which both humans and machines can create reports, can pull out insights, the idea of not having to run a report, but actually having the agent say, hey, here's interesting stuff, this should be a report, right? So some really cool things around that. So AI everywhere. But what was really kind of interesting to me, I think the hidden gem is Sales Cloud has, they're announcing a lot of really cool stuff to their flagship product, where, to be honest, a lot of the people I talked to at Dreamforce, your typical heads of sales, people like that, were saying, we thought innovation was stagnating, it was kind of getting boring, but they're really bringing out this whole idea of this pipeline to paycheck concept, which brings in more advanced forecasting with and without AI, right? Better prospecting, really, really cool tools on managing pipeline, really, really cool tools on managing what I would call full journey growth. So more collaborative account planning, where, you're bringing in more people in the organization collaboratively via both Slack and the core CRM tools to understand, well, what's our growth plan for this customer at a one-to-one level that they can be rolled up to the whole company to create more accurate growth plans, more reliable, more predictable growth plans. So really, really cool stuff happening both with AI and not. I think they undersold the non-AI stuff. I think it's actually what people will be able to take in and get more value out of, because typically if you're just a Sales Cloud user, I don't know if you have enough volume, enough quality of data to make agentic AI really work for you. They're talking a lot about, they had 2,500 agents or whatever it was created just during Dreamforce, but how functional are they? How useful are they? That all remains to be seen. But, it wasn't just agentic AI. There was some really cool kind of hidden gems announced during the conference, but we'll see how it all plays out. But for right now, a lot of stuff coming out for the week.
So you've been a veteran of multiple Dreamforces. I've watched either from afar or there like more times than I can count. Um, the thing that struck me the most is that it actually seemed like they had a tight, cohesive story this time, which, as you know, it hasn't really been the case in more than a few years. I think they have a tight story, and then Benioff gets on stage and talks too much, and by time 3.5 hours is over, you're not sure what's going on. But for me, the messaging around the platform I thought was like pretty on point, especially with the heavy lifting.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the other thing, the one thing I was lacking was the Atlas reasoning engine, which the details of that were, I was fishing around looking for a lot of stuff. Did see the deck
Clara gave us, I think, some back channel stuff a lot on that, and but still not a lot, right? I think again, is it secret sauce? Is it
Right.
things that kind of make it work, and that they're not necessarily going to put everything out there, but that is kind of the linchpin there, right? And how that one works, but it's pretty cool for what I did see. Right. And I think that it is one of their most interesting things. And I think it has the potential to make everything work. I mean, really deliver on their promise, but we'll see.
Well, I think for me, the biggest thing is, did they put that platform story together enough with Agentforce to where it'll basically create revenue growth because Salesforce will be seen more as a platform as opposed to a bunch of different clouds. I don't know how long they'll take to play out because, I think those platform buys are, a little longer cycle. But existing customers can, I could see them getting into it. The models, the other thing I thought was interesting, where they're talking $2 a conversation, which if you're replacing a human, well, it's a win. Well, not for the human, but it's generally.
But it's the irony is they're not talking about human replacement, right? They are talking about augmentation of humans, so it is an added cost in this world, right? So
yeah, so I think it's a case of scaling that stuff
for sure.
Which I guess Dreamforce also is a nice pivot into the next thing I'm kind of looking at, which is a lot of their messaging, and Benioff actually sounded like he had disdain for this do-it-yourself, build-it-yourself kind of AI. Which really has been kind of the norm. So one of the things I'm looking at of late is sort of that inflection point between DIY AI and just a platform buy. It wasn't lost on me that the Dreamforce news was coming out and the keynotes are going on, and then T-Mobile and OpenAI announced this thing where they're building a CX system for, a custom CX system leveraging OpenAI's models, T-Mobile's data, and then they almost hinted at that, this could be sold to other industries. It's almost like a co-innovation kind of deal. And as I'm looking at that kind of thing develop, Rocket Mortgage, which kind of built its own proprietary stuff, Intuit's another one, JP Morgan Chase, like there's a lot of companies that aren't saying, hey, I'm just going to buy this platform and it's going to be the magic button for AI for me. So I'm going to be watching that inflection point really closely because the anti-DIY thing, the marketing's sort of back to the future. Like Salesforce started that way, right? It was like no software.
Well, I was going to say I was going to say the same exact thing. I mean,
it's the exact same thing. Even the slide they used was the same.
No, of course, but I also think the way you're kind of talking is it's very analogous to the move from like old client server to when you had that managed service, right? And that moving to SaaS, moving to cloud. I mean, AI is kind of doing a similar kind of mode in that we need to learn, we're adopting, we're doing things, and then it's just going to become, I don't want to say a feature because that kind of makes it little too, downplays it too much, but when it becomes more utility, is maybe the better way of looking at it. And again, like at the same time, SaaS is not 100% the way that all software is consumed, right? So it's never going to be forever not DIY and consumed as a utility. So there's always going to be reasons for both proprietary and owned or whatever you want to look at it, especially when we think of it's data and ownership, security, PII, all that type of stuff is going to make this have wrinkles, and it's going to have, it's going to proliferate models, right? And I think, and that's a good thing, right? So, because the reality of business is the reality of business, right? And one size is not going to fit all. So we'll see how that develops, but it is interesting how quickly we're seeing a number of like the iterations, basically from, how you can get started versus, now it's, I probably haven't even gotten out of pilot with my co-pilots, too much of the use of the word pilot, and now you're telling me it's Agentforce, and you're almost like replacing it, and it's like people's heads got to be spinning, right? So it is happening fast though, so it's
I think the thing I'll probably be watching for the DIY AI thing is going to be the spectrum. Like, it's, I think it's going to be like this. We overcompensate in one direction or the other. It's just the human condition. But I do wonder, like, where's that balance? And do things like, do the tools from the hyperscalers make it so much easier to DIY your stuff that you can, or it's not the DIY of old, right?
Yeah,
so
it almost might take like a thing where we're proving out use cases and capabilities and letting people do that work, and then it becomes easy enough to kind of do it on your own. So it might kind of Mobius a little bit and come around. So it is it's going to be interesting how that plays out, and that's where we kind of can actually take an interesting long view. Things happen quickly, and we kind of get stuck in the short view, but the long view of the actual strategy and approach and what we own and what we don't will be really interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah, I think it's one of my 2025 trends is to see how that works out.
Yeah.
And my guess is it'll be winding up somewhere with some hybrid sort of play.
Of course, absolutely.
But yeah, the big companies with the big budgets, I think it's going to be more about doing the hybrid kind of approach.
Yeah, of course. I mean, and look, and that's still a thing. I mean, even take it all the way up to the cloud level, and I'm sure Holger will have something to say about this. It's like Oracle's still making money on cloud migration.
Yes, they're raking in dough. So, yeah. All right, so that's it for the news this week. Stay tuned for my interview with Holger to yap about Oracle with the dash of Workday, talk about dueling banjos there, and then to close out the show, we're going to talk about the AI forum and some takeaways. Hi, I'm Larry Dignan with Constellation Insights, and we're here with Holger Mueller from Constellation Research, obviously, and we're going to talk a little Oracle, a little Workday, and maybe a dash of Salesforce just to talk AI. What's up, Holger?
I'm doing well. Crazy second weekend of 11 weeks. I'm still have a pulse on a Friday, so happy to be here. Good to talk to you.
So let's talk Oracle. I mean, I've documented some of this. You've documented some of this.
Right.
I see this run. I see that, $100 million or $100 billion in revenue projected in fiscal 2029. Mm-hmm. And I go back 3 years ago and I'm like, whoa, what happened?
Yes.
So they're either lucky, crazy, or just some mix of both. But what do you think is going on here, and why are they doing so well?
I think they worked hard, and then they got lucky. So let me explain this, right? They worked hard because they had to get their cloud right. And they call it Oracle Cloud Infrastructure 2.0. It's really, if you can't even jump over some failures, 3.5, right? There's been a lot of tries of Oracle to get cloud right. To be fair, they started 25 years ago when everybody was striping with Oracle on demand. I count that as half or one attempt, but they really had to design a cloud which works really well for databases. And database content and mission critical has to reside in the country. So it had to right away be a very small cloud footprint, right? They realized in that process that they would even have to run this in specific countries because there's no way to build 150 data centers, right? And then to manage the same thing like the cloud competitor is doing, manage everything that's running at a customer like a part of your cloud extension. And they've been working really hard to make that footprint even smaller. As a matter of fact, that Cloud World, Clay McGurrick showed with like the 3 proverbial fridges, I always call them fridges, server racks, which can run the whole Oracle stack, right? From low-level compute with NVIDIA, whatever in there, or whatever GPUs you might taking, all the way to the Click and the SaaS app. And that's super impressive and make it super flexible. And basically they can convert all their Oracle database customers to this infrastructure. So designing a cloud which was well done for database workloads. So get storage to expensive CPUs at the time. And now we come to the lucky moment. That turns out to be a great design point also for running a cloud with AI. Right. So and then comes a third part, which is bold. Larry and Safra, they've always been Safra. I mean, and know back from my days there, very conservative CFO, only spending if it really made sense. And you can look for the history of Oracle. Oracle's CapEx, doing all this R&D and development before the cloud days, would be around 1 billion, maybe 1.5 billion. And if you look at the numbers in the last 8 quarters, it's roughly that 50% of free cash flow is being spent on CapEx. I would jokingly say Safra and Larry are spending like drunken sailors on this GPU capability, realizing this optional strategic capability that they have in the space to be what they are right now, since already almost a year, the only cloud which has spare GPUs from NVIDIA. Right? And there's plenty of anecdotes out there from Larry, how he's whining and dining Jensen from NVIDIA to get the GPUs. They shared some insights at their Cloud Analyst Summit in May that they prepay in cash. That's where the cash is going to the suppliers so they can jump in front of the line. And they've overtaken AWS. Who would have thought of that, right? They've overtaken AWS a number of data center locations, which is super crucial again from a performance perspective, because in-country is always faster, from a data residency perspective, and which we still have, we often forget that in the cloud, from a not invented here. I don't do cloud yet, right? I leave this, I'm a CIO in my 50s. I'm going to play it safe. I'm going to do this on premises in my data center. I'm happy for Oracle to manage it for me and move from there, right? So that's the interesting aspect there, and it's working extremely well for them. So well to the point that at some point last week or so, right, Larry overtook Jeff Bezos as the richest person on the planet, on paper, of course, right?
Yeah, it's been fascinating to see how they've kind of mastered the art of co-opetition.
That is a very good point. They call it the multi-cloud, right? But I think it's an interesting aspect of Oracle for maybe the first time in its history is listening to customers and partnering with former enemies, right? I mean, the Microsoft partnership was the first one. We know AT&T was substantial of bringing them to the table. I was not surprised that in spring they announced a partnership with Google, bringing the database inside of the Google Cloud. Last year, they reiterated Microsoft, which is a great point for latency, that even the fast connect, which they had to the Microsoft Azure clouds, wasn't fast enough. And now they're putting the Exadata machines inside Azure, and people can provision the Oracle database without even knowing there's an Oracle database behind it. So super interesting. And I didn't expect AWS to come this soon, but we had the proof on stage, right? There was a JP Morgan was on stage, right? This was the best multi-cloud announcement, because not only had the two chairmen, Larry and Matt Garman, CEO from AWS, but also the customer, the CIO of JP Morgan, saying why this is so important to them, because they stay on the Oracle database and they use the AWS stack. So they want to have the data at where their tooling is, their compute is to run machine learning or AI, as whatever you want to tell it. So data gravity is alive and well. And Oracle is moving the data to where you want to use and consume it, and giving customers a choice, and is happy to compete on the merits, because the dirty secret behind all of this is, right, Oracle, and you're doing this longer than me, or we do it at the same time. I don't know a single time that somebody completely won in one category. And that category is obviously relational, highly transactional databases. There is no competition for Oracle there anymore. I was expecting last year SQL Server, as used to be a traditional competitor, a huge ambition. I expected Microsoft last year to have something like a momentum press release after the co-location Azure provisioned Oracle database. And here's the momentum and the customers using it. Nothing happened, right? And AWS, right? Werner Vogel's, his super dense keynote, like 4 or 5 years ago, had half of his keynote time, 2 hours plus, dedicated to why you have to build this transactional database in the cloud and why they're moving off from Oracle in some aspects. I don't know whether they really completely worked off from the transactional side, but definitely on the analytical side. And that is Athena over at AWS. And there's been also no momentum press release. Maybe I missed it from AWS side. Correct me if I'm wrong here. It's saying we're fully committed. We are building out high availability. We're building out the rack killer, which is one of the real application clusters, one of the key features to ensure transactional integrity on the Oracle side. So none of that has happened. So Oracle can be very confident to do multi-cloud, because nobody else is going to compete with them in these clouds, at least for the foreseeable future, building a better transactional database. So very good strategy, very good post for them to be, not to mention all the other things along the stack, which work really well from them on the platform side, on the SaaS side, and so on.
It's been absolutely fascinating to watch. So let's talk Workday, which is
Yes.
so well. It's funny. Workday Oracle conference calls used to focus on Workday a good bit. Now it doesn't even warrant a mention because they compete with like this little slice of the overall pie. So what's Workday's AI strategy look like right now?
Yeah, that was the thing I was trying to find out. Spending 3 days in Las Vegas, asked the question, didn't get so good question. Obviously, something has moved very quickly. Carl Eschenbach announced on Monday already the AI assistants called Illuminate. We're going to share light. They have a good 3-step process about augmenting, assisting, and then transforming. I believe those are the 3 steps. Correct me if I'm wrong here, which is all reasonable. But there's a mixture about the old approach of doing AI, which was about taking data, neutralizing, building models, federating it back to the Workday cloud to give it to customers. Some of the Salesforce announcement, I mean, Mark Benioff was on stage with Carl talking about things, right? That Workday was going to provide data, leverage data, cloud on the Salesforce side. Not much talk on that part. And then there was a more new way of doing this, presented high level by Shane Luke, and kudos to him. We had an architecture diagram, but we didn't know where the delimiters are between the customer instance or not. The one data point, which is not related and not sanctioned in the sense of my interpretation, but is in spring, Workday had about 200 customers in the public cloud on AWS, and Google Cloud was just announced, so not many Google Cloud. They are now first we were at 700, 900 plus. So behind the scenes, I think Workday is moving really, really fast to move customers to the public cloud. And in my personal belief, I mean, AI has to run the public cloud because that's where I have what I call the infinite compute, the infinite insights, the infinite storage capability to store all the relevant data for that, which makes a quick sideway back to Oracle, right? Where it's one of the little unheard of announcements in the Oracle Cloud world was the Oracle Intelligent Data Lake, right? You need to have a data lake where to store all this data. That is still missing on the Workday side. That works fabulously, jumping to the third conference of these weeks on the Salesforce side of Data Cloud, right? So that is where Workday is kind of like figuring out where to do is where the customers are, and that doesn't make for a very cohesive AI strategy at the moment. Unfortunately, on the flip side, their customers are happy with what they're doing. They're pushing all their products across the suite. They're finally addressing some of the UI issues with the conversational UX, which should be coming live. But again, sensitive, very interesting to see. I had a great side conversation with their CTO, name just escapes me, saying that they have the ability to put in more tiers in the Workday cloud to run the compute for that. Because my joking question was, can every employee have a conversational UX experience while you're closing the books and running payroll? So there's maximum utilization on that instance anyway. So they have a tiered architecture for that. So that's good news for running this for customers who are still in the Workday cloud, right? And where potentially you can't scale as well, which is all kind of under the shoot of confidentiality and secrecy over at Workday. But overall, I think a very good rising for Workday. I mean, it was the first time where Carl Eschenbach was fully in charge. I think he did really well. He even did a rap performance, which nobody escaped from coming there. He showed some of his authenticity.
Why?
Yeah, if you want to see a fun CEO partner interview, fast forward to the community keynote from Wednesday, where Mark Benioff and Carl Eschenbach are making fun of each other and what they're doing. So probably the funniest CEO conversation I've had of people knowing each other since a long time, obviously, all Silicon Valley veterans, but that was good and authentic to see.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for having me.
Hi, I'm Larry Dignan with Constellation Insights, and we're here with Tina Chakrabarty from Sanofi. Hi, how you doing?
Hi, we're doing good. How are you?
Good. So what are you looking forward to this year in terms of your AI strategy, or the year ahead, I guess?
Yeah, for the next year, as we were speaking about this, the major area of focus has always been R&D, and it would always be R&D. But now we are also expanding our area of focus on other areas like, the commercials or the people and culture, the corporate finance or M&S. And those areas also need a lot of attention around the AI. But to do that, primarily, of course, the data awareness, the data literacy is more important because, as I already spoke about this, empower your data to actually empower the AI. So you have to elevate your data to empower the AI. And as Sanofi is a larger organization, it's global. Of course, there has been some challenges around that data literacy program. Everyone loves the buzzword of AI, and it's across the industry. But of course, data is boring. But that is the compass which is going to lead any kind of AI journey. So the data literacy is number one, which we are trying to improve on. And of course, everyone is talking about the Gen AI pieces, and our focus is also on the Gen AI pieces. And as I already spoke about it, different areas, apart from R&D, the other areas also need a lot of focus on the AI, and that is our primary purpose, and that is where we are gonna invest in 2025. And yeah, I think that's
How do you think about build versus buy? Or how should folks think about build versus buy with
I think
AI?
it should be a perfect balance, right?
Okay.
I would not say that build versus buy. I would say that let's collaborate, and it should be build and buy. It cannot be where you are only building the homegrown solutions, and you're basically saying that oh no, I don't want to look at the industry standards. That's not gonna help you to ace the game. So it should be a combination of both. With the talents whom we hire, we have actually built a few of the fantastic, phenomenal homegrown solutions. But I would also say that all the industry leading tools also Sanofi has acquired, and we are actually working with the help of those. So yeah, I think that's my take on build versus buy. It's like build and buy.
All right. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Larry. My pleasure.
Well, that is all the time we have for episode 89. Watch out for our next episode in 2 weeks. I guess that will be 91.
We can count. Look at us. That's right. Co-hosts the Muellers, Holger and Liz will bring you episode 90 of CRTV in the meantime. So in the meantime, follow us on LinkedIn, Twitter, Constellation R, and at the hashtag CRTV show. And also don't forget to subscribe to Constellation Research TV on YouTube, subscribe to Insights at Constellation Insights, and keep up with all of our stuff going forward. Thanks for watching and have a good week.
All right, see you next time, guys.
All right, so Martin, you kick us off?
Yep. I'll do a mental 4 countdown.
Larry wants to run Central Park with you at AIF.
I need a little more heads up. Get into running shape. Maybe I can run 1 or 2 miles, but then I'll pay for it.
Probably more like walking shape, to be honest. I'm slow as
Walking is fine, but how early? Because I need my beauty sleep.
Oh yeah, I got up 5:15 usually.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So that would be 2:15 for my body clock.
Yeah, your body clock. Is not
and I get 1 extra, so it's 1:15. Why don't we meet at 3? I can do a midnight walk. You stop by at the right pizza place, but must have vegan pizza, of course. Okay, so what are we doing here?
No, dude. I've had a bad day, but we're not going to go there.
All right, fine.
Because we went there in another video just to get it out. But go ahead.
Good enough. There are many people who are worried about AI. People are about AI. What the hell, man?
Larry!
He's like, you're amazing.
Well,
I go hit me with a flag.
I was not prepared for the question. He's like, hit me with one, which one? Okay.
There are many. Oh my god. Okay. All right, here we go.
Just stop and shut it, okay?
All right, so what's your big takeaway from today?